if you have a generic template for the body, like with the anatomy book, it's real easy to go in and select what you want and then do work on those areas. And then there may be another area after that that you need to do work on that didn't register in the first time that you went through. And it's simply because once a layer has come off, like the body has its own particular way that it likes to heal, and each body's different. So you may think, okay, well, I know that my hip is hurting, because of it's pulling on my shoulder, so I know the pain, and I know the pain is coming from the hip that's pulling on the shoulder. Well, so if I undo the hip, then my shoulder should stop. Well, not necessarily. When you undo the hip, then the shoulder may need attention as well. And then you may find out that it actually comes all the way back down to your foot where it was pulling from. Why couldn't I just go to the foot to start with and open it up? Well, that's like, going up to a big castle with lots of doors and saying, okay, instead of walking through the first door, I think I'll just walk through the third door behind it. That's kind of hard to do. You've got a big, huge door here, and then in the inner garden you've got another door, well, you have to walk through each door in succession to get to the throne room. And you can't just start at the third door and pop into the throne room. It doesn't work that way. So every castle is structurally different. So every disease, every body is structurally different. When it puts, when it asks you to do this, there's a reason for it. You might not understand it, but don't worry about understanding it. You don't have to understand it. That's what makes it easy. Move out of the way and let it do what it's supposed to do. If you don't feel that it's being effective, it's not being effective. And the reason I say that is, if you feel that you're not being effective, you need to have faith that you are being effective. Okay, I promise you, if you continue working it, you will get the effect you're looking for. And so that's the important part: is do not let your mind trick you into thinking that it's not doing the job. I mean, I've doused on people like this, for maybe like 20 or 30 minutes, and I'm thinking, the energies that are coming off of them are just so heavy, there's just no way that I could be getting all of it. But I just keep doing it. Anyway, I just keep going, and I just let it keep going. Like, man, my hand's kind of getting tired from doing this, but I keep going. And then when it stops, I still feel those energies there. And then all of a sudden, they just start to break up and dissipate. And then the person looks up and they go, oh my God, it's gone, whatever it was. So you've got to do your part by letting the hand gesture movement. Now, again, I can do just like the rod. I can say, it can be spinning, and I say, please continue until completely done, and then I can stop it myself and let it go ahead and work. Now, there's a little trick to that, not just the saying, to say it, but don't abruptly stop it. Okay, as it's spinning, kind of guide it out of the loop, because if you stop the circle, then it kind of stops the energy. So I say, can you please stop, or sorry, can you please continue until it is completely done? And then I guide it out of the loop and then put it down, as opposed to just abruptly stopping it. You want to be respectful of the energy, just like you're respectful of the verbalization. You're telling it what you want it to do, and so then you need to move in time with that. And so that's kind of like it's spiraling, and then it just lets it go and do its thing, rather than it's spiraling and we stop and drop. It'll actually even cause a confliction of energy inside your body. It's kind of like trying to breathe out really hard, and then somebody putting their hand in front of your mouth, and you get that, your cheeks puff up, and there's a lot of pressure on your head for a second. And so that's not what you want. You have to move in time with the energy. And eventually, divine gesture will take you to some other techniques that we'll go over on other videos. But with utilization of this technique, remember, we can do both hands at the same time for removal. I can have one hand install while the other hand is uninstalling. And so I can do two things at once now. Just simply open myself up to know in my mind that this hand is doing the uninstall, this hand is doing the install, okay? And they just start to go. In whatever direction they go, if they go the same direction, I don't care, because I know what's happening. And that's the important part. As long as I know what's going on, that something's working, that's all I need to know. You know, it's like utilizing the dowsing rod. As long as it's spinning, you know it's doing something. Doesn't necessarily, you don't have to necessarily know what it's doing or why it's doing it. Just know that it's working. So in conclusion, you know, utilization of the dowsing can help you find different areas of sickness on the body, whether people are in-house or whether they're across the planet. And, you know, just remember that you're not diagnosing. In fact, you may not even have a clue what the problem is. All you know is it needs attention. And so you give it that attention by doing the dowsing technique. But don't concern yourself. You don't have to concern yourself with learning a lot of technical stuff. You know, I emphasize always on higher education. You know, continue your studies to learn more about how things work so you can become even more effective. But if you don't have the time to, that's fine too, because these techniques with the dowsing can do really anything that you need, just so long as you're open to let them work and spend some time. And certain things need a lot of time. I mean, I've done exorcisms with dowsing that have lasted for hours. You know, when I say hours, I mean 2 and 3 hours sometimes, you know, that I'll continue to go just to get all the riffraff out of there, you know, and then that's one session, you know, and I've got all the stuff out, everything kind of burnt to the ground, and then you have to go in and take a look at psychic attack, psychic protection, and psychic detachment. And so, but my spiritual category is now half emptied. You know, I've got all the anomalies, entities, and demonics out of there. Now I've got to go in and clear out all the psychic stuff. So even if it takes you that long, I mean, you can even break it up into sessions, okay? Like I could do an hour session or a 20-minute session or whatever, okay? But, you know, you can still take it in increments and still accumulate the same effect, you know, within a relative time. But these people were like heavily contaminated. And I don't necessarily recommend that you tackle something like that, you know, your first day out. But as long as you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. And just don't lose sight of that track. It's very important. If you keep dowsing, it will keep leaving. And so don't let anything trick you into thinking that's not the case. Because as soon as they've convinced you that it's not the case, you'll stop doing it, and then you can't get rid of it until you pick up dowsing and start doing it again, or some other technique like we teach. So just remember to stay focused on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and don't be distracted, because the energies will try to distract you. They'll try to confuse you, and it doesn't hurt also when you're doing some type of exorcism technique to include yourself in being exorcised or cleared of spiritual oppression, possession, these types of things. So because as you know, as they're leaving that person, they're going to try to go somewhere. And so in your mind, just know that you're not only doing them, but you're doing you and the whole place that you're in, and maybe anybody else who's around. Now this may take a little bit longer, but, you know, to do, but this way you can be sure that nothing jumped ship and you know, latched onto somebody else. You know, I emphasize when you do an exorcism, have as few people in the room as possible. It's not a bad idea to have a sidekick or something, so to speak, somebody who's a high-level practitioner who can catch your back if you need it. However, I wouldn't really go any more than that, just for safety reasons. You know, so the less people that you have in the room, the less likely there is for it to jump ship onto somebody else. And it's not, I mean, you're not successful truly if you take it out of one person and it jumps on somebody else. So just make sure to include yourself, the property, the area you're working on, and the person you're working on in that uninstall or removal of that type of energy. So thanks for learning Divine Gesture or Dowsing Hands, and I'll see you on our next video set.